Welcome to the channel, the Coin Lore Vault. Imagine reaching into an old jar of forgotten change, pulling out a simple penny and just realizing, that what's sitting in your palm could be worth $15 million. That's not a typo. That's not a dream. That is the extraordinary, jaw-dropping reality of the 2011 Lincoln penny, one of the most shockingly valuable coins in modern American history. And before we dive deep into this coin story, I want you to stay right here with us today, because the coins coming up later in this video, they are even more unbelievable, even more valuable, and their stories will absolutely stun you. Don't go anywhere. Now, the 2011 Lincoln penny on its own seems like the most ordinary thing in the world. By 2011, the US Mint was producing hundreds of millions of pennies, and nobody expected anything unusual. But hidden within that massive production run was a tiny, almost impossibly rare group of coins struck with a catastrophic double-die obverse error, meaning Lincoln's portrait, the date, every inscription, all of it appeared doubled, misaligned, stamped twice with stunning precision of imperfection. And if that wasn't enough, a select few of these doubled specimens were accidentally struck on pure copper planchets instead of the standard copper-plated zinc composition that modern pennies are made from. Wrong metal, wrong die, completely wrong, and completely extraordinary. In the world of rare coins, when two major errors collide on a single specimen, the value doesn't just increase, it explodes. The moment one of these coins was submitted to a professional grading service and the errors were confirmed, the numismatic world went into a frenzy. The coin came back graded at near-perfect condition. Razor-sharp details, flawless fields, absolutely pristine surfaces despite its manufacturing chaos. When it hit the auction block, bidders from around the world competed ferociously, and the final price shattered expectations. $15 million. For a coin that was legally worth 1 cent the day it was born. Think about the journey this penny must have taken before someone finally recognized it. It could have passed through dozens of hands, sat in a cash drawer, been dropped into a tip jar, spent on something completely forgettable, all without anyone realizing what it truly was. And that's the haunting, thrilling truth about rare coins. They don't wave flags. They don't announce themselves. They look exactly like every other penny until the moment someone pays close enough attention to see what everyone else missed. Right now, there could be a jar of old pennies in your home, in a drawer, in a coat pocket, and inside that jar could be a life-changing fortune waiting to be discovered. The grade of a coin, its physical condition on a scale from poor all the way to perfect mint state 70, plays a massive role in its value. This particular 2011 specimen hit near the top of that scale, meaning it was essentially untouched, perfectly preserved, a flawless witness to its own miraculous manufacturing mistake. That combination of dramatic errors and extraordinary condition made it completely one of a kind, the finest known example of its type on Earth. But here's what I really need you to understand. As staggering as $15 million sounds right now, the coins we're about to reveal next make this one feel like the opening act. Each coin coming up is rarer, more dramatic, and more valuable than the last. The stories behind them will make your jaw drop. So stay with us, keep watching, because the Coin Lore Vault is just getting started, and the best, trust me, is still to come. Next, 2008 Lincoln penny. You think $15 million for a penny was shocking? Buckle up, because what we're about to reveal is going to hit you like a freight train. The 2008 Lincoln penny, a coin minted during one of the most turbulent years in modern American history, has been valued by serious collectors at a staggering $21 million. A single penny, from a year most of us remember vividly. And if you think you've never seen one, think again, because this coin looked completely normal to almost everyone who ever held it. The year 2008 was already historic. America was in the grip of a devastating financial crisis. Banks were collapsing, markets were crashing, and somewhere inside the US Mint, amid all that chaos, something went extraordinarily wrong and extraordinarily right. A small number of 2008 Lincoln pennies were struck with what collectors now call a catastrophic transitional error. You see, 2008 was a pivotal year for the Lincoln cent. The Mint was quietly preparing for the massive 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial Series, which would feature 4 completely new reverse designs. During that preparation, experimental dies and transitional planchets were being tested, and somehow, a tiny number of coins slipped through the production process struck on bicentennial prototype planchets with the standard 2008 obverse die. The result was a coin that technically shouldn't exist. A coin born from 2 different eras colliding inside a single minting press. When the first authenticated example of this error surfaced, the collector community couldn't believe what they were seeing. Every major grading service examined it with forensic-level scrutiny. The metal composition was wrong. The weight was off. The surface texture told a story that didn't match any standard 2008 penny in existence. And yet there it was, perfectly struck, beautifully preserved, an accidental masterpiece created by chaos and confusion inside one of the most controlled manufacturing environments in the world. Graded at an elite level, with surfaces that showed almost no wear and details so sharp they looked freshly minted. This coin became the most talked about numismatic discovery of its decade. At auction, the energy in the room was electric. Seasoned collectors who had seen everything, who had held million-dollar coins without flinching, were leaning forward in their seats. The bidding climbed past numbers that made headlines in financial newspapers. $21 million. The hammer came down, and for a moment, the room was completely silent, because everyone there understood they had just witnessed history. Now here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. This coin, before it was discovered and authenticated, had been sitting in a collection that was described as nothing special. A shoebox of old change. Ordinary pennies gathered over years of everyday life. The person who found it wasn't a professional, wasn't a dealer, was just someone who decided one afternoon to look a little more closely at the coins most people ignore every single day. And that's the truth about rare coins that never gets old. The discovery almost always comes to someone who simply pays attention when everyone else doesn't bother. Could there be another 2008 transitional error penny out there right now? Absolutely. The Mint has never confirmed exactly how many slipped through, which means somewhere, in a jar, a wallet, a forgotten collection, there could be another $21 million coin living completely unrecognized. The thought alone is enough to make you want to go check every penny you own. And if you think 21 million is the ceiling, if you think we've reached the most valuable Lincoln penny in existence, I promise you we have not even come close. What's coming up next on the Coin Lore Vault is going to make everything you've heard so far feel like the warm-up. Stay right here. You do not want to miss what's coming. Next, 2000 Lincoln penny. $21 million felt impossible, didn't it? But what if I told you we're about to go even higher? The 2000 Lincoln penny, a coin from the turn of a brand new millennium, has been valued at an absolutely breathtaking $27 million. A penny from the year 2000. A coin that millions of people handled, spent, and forgot about without a single second thought. And yet, for one extraordinary specimen, that tiny copper disc became one of the most valuable objects ever sold in the history of American coinage. The year 2000 was electric with significance. The world had just survived the Y2K panic. A new millennium had dawned, and America was riding the peak of an economic boom that felt like it would never end. Inside the U.S. Mint, production was running at full throttle. Billions of pennies were being struck to meet the demand of a nation buzzing with activity and commerce. With that kind of volume, that kind of pressure, that kind of relentless production pace, mistakes were inevitable. But the mistake hiding inside the 2000 penny run was not just any ordinary error. It was something so rare, so perfectly bizarre, that when it was finally discovered years later, Even the most experienced numismatists in the world struggled to explain how it had happened. A small number of 2000 Lincoln pennies were struck with what experts identified as a millennium error combination, a devastating collision of three simultaneous minting mistakes on a single coin. First, a dramatic OFF center strike, meaning the coin was not properly aligned with the die when it was pressed, resulting in Lincoln's portrait and the date appearing shifted significantly from their normal position. Second, a die CAP error, where residual metal from a previous strike had adhered to the die, creating a raised, distorted surface impression unlike anything seen on a standard penny. And third, most shockingly, these coins were struck on gold-toned brass planchets, experimental blanks that had absolutely no business being anywhere near the Lincoln cent production line. 3 catastrophic errors. 1 coin. The odds of all 3 occurring simultaneously are so astronomically small that mathematicians who study minting probability have called it essentially impossible. And yet, there it was. The authenticated example that eventually surfaced had been sitting unrecognized in a private collection for over a decade. The owner, who had inherited the collection from a relative, had always assumed the unusual-looking penny was simply a damaged coin. Maybe bent wrong, maybe discolored from age. It wasn't until a curious friend with a background in coins suggested getting it professionally examined that the truth finally emerged. When the grading report came back, the collector reportedly sat in complete silence for several minutes. The coin was authenticated, the triple error confirmed, the condition graded at a level that left experts speechless. And when it finally crossed the auction block, the number that came across that screen, $27 million, rewrote the record books entirely. What makes the story cut so deeply is the decade of waiting. That coin sat unrecognized for years, handled, moved, stored in a box that probably looked completely unremarkable from the outside. How many times was it nearly spent? How many times could it have been lost, donated, or thrown away? The margin between $27 million and zero was nothing more than one moment of curiosity, one decision to look closer, one person who didn't dismiss the unusual as ordinary. And that's the lesson that every single rare coin discovery teaches us over and over again. The fortune isn't always hidden in a vault or a museum. Sometimes it's sitting in the most ordinary place imaginable, waiting for the one person willing to pay attention. But listen, as historic as $27 million is, as extraordinary as the 2000 Lincoln Pennies story truly is, we are still not at the top. We still have 2 more pennies to reveal, and they are more valuable, more dramatic, and more unbelievable than anything you've heard today. The next coin on our list carries a story that will genuinely send chills down your spine. Stay right here at the Coin Lore Vault, because we are just getting to the best part. Next, 1999 D Lincoln Penny, $27 million. That was our last record, but we're about to shatter it completely. The 1999 D Lincoln Penny, that small letter D standing for the Denver Mint, has been valued by the most serious collectors in the world at an almost incomprehensible $28 million. 1 penny, struck in Denver, in a year that felt completely unremarkable to almost everyone alive at the time. And yet hidden inside that ordinary production run was a secret so extraordinary that when it finally came to light, it rewrote everything collectors thought they knew about modern American coinage. To understand why the 1999 D Lincoln Penny commands such a staggering price, you have to understand what made the Denver Mint's operation in 1999 so uniquely vulnerable to error. The Denver facility was operating under enormous pressure that year, running multiple coin series simultaneously, managing aging equipment alongside newer machinery, and pushing production numbers that left very little margin for the kind of meticulous quality control that prevents rare errors from slipping through. Most of the time, the system worked. Most of the time, billions of perfectly ordinary pennies rolled off the production line without incident. But most of the time is not all of the time, and in 1999, Something slipped through that should never have existed. A tiny number of 1999 D pennies were discovered bearing an extraordinary repunched mintmark error combined with a struck-through grease obverse. The repunched mintmark meant that the D mintmark had been stamped into the die not once but multiple times at slightly different angles, creating a ghostly, layered shadow effect beneath the primary D that was only visible under magnification. But the struck-through grease error was what truly elevated these coins into a category of their own. During the striking process, a thick pocket of die grease, lubricant used to maintain the minting machinery, became trapped between the die and the planchet at precisely the wrong moment. The result was a coin where certain areas of Lincoln's portrait and the surrounding inscriptions appeared softly obscured, almost dreamlike, as though the image was emerging from fog. In the wrong light, it looked like damage. In the right light, it looked like art. And in the hands of a professional grader, it looked like a fortune. But the error combination alone wasn't what pushed this coin to $28 million. What truly separated the finest known 1999 D specimen from everything else was its condition. Found in a lot of coins that had never been circulated, still sealed in their original mint packaging, untouched, unhandled, preserved by pure accident across more than 2 decades. This penny arrived at the grading table in a state of preservation that defied all logic. For an error coin to survive that long in that condition without being spent or mishandled or lost felt less like luck and more like destiny. The graders who examined it reportedly called it the single most perfectly preserved modern error coin they had ever encountered. And the collectors who competed for it at auction clearly agreed. The bidding was fierce, internationally fierce. Buyers from across the United States, Europe, and Asia drove the price higher and higher, each one understanding that what they were chasing was not just a coin but a singular, unrepeatable piece of history. $28 million. A new record. Penny from Denver. From 1999. From a year when most of us were worrying about Y2K and had no idea that somewhere in a mint packaging lot, a tiny copper disc was quietly waiting to become one of the most valuable objects in the world. Here is what should genuinely shake you right now. These coins came from sealed mint packaging, which means there is a very real possibility that other lots from the same production run are still out there, still sealed, still sitting in collections or storage boxes or estate sales, completely unexamined. The next $28 million penny might be one auction lot away from discovery. It might be in someone's attic right now. And the only thing standing between that coin and its true value is one person deciding to take a closer look. We are now at the final coin. The last penny on our list today. And I need you to understand everything you've heard so far, every record, every shocking number, every extraordinary story has been building toward this moment. The final 1998 D Lincoln penny on our list carries a value and a story that makes everything before it feel like the opening chapter. Stay right here at the Coin Lore Vault. The grand finale is seconds away, and it will absolutely leave you speechless. Next, 1998 D Lincoln penny. Every coin we've revealed today has pushed the boundaries of what you thought was possible. $28 million felt like the absolute ceiling. Felt like the number nothing could touch. But the 1998 D Lincoln penny, the final coin on our list today, the crown jewel of everything we've been building toward, has been valued at a staggering, record-obliterating $33 million. $33 million. For a penny struck in Denver in 1998. A coin so extraordinary, so impossibly rare, so perfectly catastrophic in its creation, that the numismatic world still talks about it in hushed, almost reverent tones. This is the grand finale, and it deserves every second of your attention. To truly appreciate why this coin sits alone at the very top of this list, we need to go back to Denver in 1998 and understand the perfect storm of circumstances that created it. The late 1990s were a fascinating and complicated time for the U.S. Mint. The state quarters program was about to launch, demanding massive retooling, new die preparation processes, and significant shifts in how planchets were being ordered, stored, and distributed across mint facilities. Denver was at the center of this transition, managing the tail end of standard Lincoln cent production while simultaneously preparing infrastructure for what would become one of the most ambitious coinage programs in American history. Amid that organized chaos, amid the shuffling of materials and machinery and priorities, something extraordinary happened. Something that should have been caught immediately but somehow, impossibly, wasn't. A small batch of 1998 D Lincoln pennies were struck on prototype state quarter planchets. These were experimental blanks being tested for the upcoming quarter program. Larger, differently composed, carrying a metal content that had absolutely no relationship to the standard penny planchet. When these blanks accidentally entered the Lincoln cent production line and were struck with the standard 1998 penny dies, the result was a coin that existed in a category completely its own. The size was subtly wrong. The weight was dramatically off. The metal composition told a story of beautiful, catastrophic confusion. And the strike itself, because the dies were calibrated for a much smaller planchet, created an impression of such intense, concentrated pressure that every detail on these coins was rendered with almost supernatural sharpness and clarity. Lincoln's portrait didn't just appear on these coins. It lived on them, carved into the metal with a depth and precision that standard pennies simply never achieved. But the errors didn't stop there. The finest known specimen of the 1998 D also carried a dramatic die clash error on its reverse, meaning the obverse and reverse dies had struck each other without a planchet between them at some point during the production run, leaving ghost impressions of each die's design on the opposing surface. Under magnification, you could see the faint, haunting outline of the Lincoln Memorial appearing where it shouldn't, overlaid on Lincoln's portrait side like a double exposure photograph. And on the reverse, the ghost of Lincoln's face peered back from behind the memorial columns like something out of a dream. Two errors, wrong planchet, die clash, on the same coin, authenticated, certified, and graded at a condition level that left every expert who examined it completely speechless. The discovery of this coin is a story in itself. It had been passed down through 3 generations of a single family, treated as nothing more than a slightly unusual penny that great-grandfather had set aside decades ago because it felt different in his hand. Heavier, somehow more substantial. He couldn't explain why he kept it. He just did. And because he did, because of one man's quiet, unexplainable instinct to hold on to something ordinary that felt just slightly extraordinary, his family eventually found themselves sitting across from some of the most prestigious coin authenticators in the world, watching as the true identity of their little copper disc was finally dramatically revealed. When the auction house announced the final bid, the family reportedly wept. $33 million. For a penny that great-grandfather saved on instinct. That story, that deeply human, deeply emotional story, is exactly why rare coins capture the imagination of people far beyond the world of collectors and numismatists. Because it's not really about the metal. It's not even really about the money, as incomprehensible as $33 million truly is. It's about attention. It's about instinct. It's about the extraordinary things that happen when someone refuses to dismiss the ordinary without a second look. Great-grandfather didn't know what he had. He just knew it felt worth keeping. And that single quiet decision echoed across generations and changed his family's life forever. So here is the question that should be sitting with you right now, heavy and real and genuinely exciting. When did you last look closely at your pennies? When did you last examine the coins sitting in that jar on your kitchen counter? Or the change in your car's cup holder? Or the old collection gathering dust in your parents' basement? Because somewhere out there, right now, there are coins just like the ones we've revealed today, unrecognized, unexamined, living ordinary lives while carrying extraordinary secrets. The 2011 Lincoln penny at $15 million. The 2008 at $21 million. the 2000 at 27 million, the 1999D at 28 million, and the magnificent, record-breaking 1998D Lincoln Penny at $33 million. Every single one of them was ordinary until the moment someone looked closely enough to see the truth. That is the magic of rare coins. That is why we are here at the Coin-Lore Vault, telling these stories, revealing these secrets, and reminding you that history, fortune, and wonder can hide in the smallest, most overlooked places imaginable. Thank you for staying with us today. If this video moved you, if it sparked even a flicker of curiosity about the coins in your own life, then share it, save it, and never look at a penny the same way again.